Welcome to Hannity and Combs. I'm Alan Combs and Rich Lowry in for Sean tonight. Nice to see you once again,
Alan,
Rich.
how's it going?
Doing well. Good to see you. We get right to our top story. Barack Obama has shattered fundraising records over the last year and a half, collecting nearly $300 million. In fact, if Obama keeps up his current fundraising pace, he's expected to exceed the money raised by both John McCain and the RNC combined. How important will campaign cash ultimately be in winning the White House? Joining us now, Fox News contributor Karl Rove. Welcome back, Karl. Do you agree with that headline? I know that people who write the op-eds don't always write the headlines. The headline of the Wall Street Journal about him possibly buying the election, is that yours?
Well, no, it's not mine. And Alan, I not only disagree with the headline, but I disagree with the statement that you made. Barack Obama has been raising money at a prodigious pace, but he has not been matched by the Democratic National Committee, and I think it is unlikely that by the end of the contest that he alone is going to be able to raise more money than both the Republican National Committee and McCain, which is, you know, I think a slight overstatement of his.
Well, you may be right, because the RNC has raised a lot more money than the DNC as of now. Does it matter? Is this about who raises the most money, or are there other factors more at play?
No, in fact, that's a very good point. It's not just about money. I mean, we need to look at the money picture to get a sense of how the two candidates are doing. But at the end of the day, history is replete with examples of candidates who raised and spent more money and who lost. One of the best, most recent examples is in 2004. If you add up what the Democratic National Committee, Kerry Edwards, and the Democratic 527s raised and spent, and compare it to what the Republican National Committee, Bush, Cheney, and Republican-oriented 527s raised and spent, the Democrats outspent the Republicans in 2004 by about $119 million.
Let me ask you about another story. I'll tell you, the New York Times, of course, writing about the shakeup in the McCain campaign. It talks about Steve Schmidt and talks about Nicole Wallace as Karl Rove proteges. Does this mean that Karl Rove is having an influence in who McCain is hiring? And is this your way of influencing this campaign?
No. But, look, I've been around this business for a number of years, and it's hard to find a lot of people who don't have some connection with me. Alan, if you went to work in the Obama campaign, you could count on the New York Times saying that a Rove protege was in the Obama campaign. So
Karl, no one's going to call me a Rove protege, believe me.
But that's, we have been associated now, so you'd be surprised what the New York Times
I will distance
do,
myself from you. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. Don't worry. That'll be a mutual thing, Alan.
No, I'm sure. I'm speaking for you when we said, I'm kidding. But look, the fact is that the Times positioned this as, you know, Rove's legacy needs to be helped by McCain win, and that you're vested in this win for your own legacy's sake.
Yeah, well, again, look, Charlie Black and I have been friends for a great many years. In fact, he was part of a secret group we had in the 2000 campaign called the G6. And so Charlie Black, who's in the leadership of the McCain campaign, again, I go back to my point. My point is I've been around this for a long time. I know a lot of people. I've been associated with a lot of people. I wouldn't put too much into some of those people rising to the tops of various campaigns. In fact, if you looked at it earlier this year, and in virtually every one of the Republican presidential campaigns, I had a close associate or friend, everything from Chip Saltzman running the Huckabee campaign to Mike Duhame running the Giuliani campaign to my friends Mark McKinnon and Charlie Black inside the McCain campaign to the campaign manager for Mitt Romney. I mean, all of these people were people that I'd been involved with and knew and were friends and associates over many, many years.
Hey, Karl, it's Rich. Thanks so much for being with us tonight.
You bet.
Karl, I'm sure you noticed that Barack Obama held 2 press conferences on Iraq today. The first one, he talked about refining his position. It created a lot of coverage about Obama making another flip-flop on a big issue. Then he came out in the afternoon and said, oh, that's all misinformation from the McCain campaign. Where do you read Barack Obama on this issue right now?
Look, I read Barack Obama as untethered and unanchored. And in the primary, he ran hard to the left, and now he's trying to run hard to the center on a variety of issues. And the problem is that he thinks that people weren't paying attention during the primary. Look, this is a guy who said, I want to get out by March of 2007, I believe it was. This is a guy who said, I want to get out
March 2008.
2008, right. And a guy who said, all we need is 16 months to get out. And now we're seeing both from his advisors on the inside of the campaign and his advisors on the outside of the campaign saying, well, you know what? Before he said we're going to get out without regard to the conditions on the ground, now we're going to be listening to the commanders. And, you know, the problem is that he may end up in the right place, which is to say, you know what, I was too precipitous when I said let's get the heck out without regard to the consequences. But at the end of the day, this may be corrosive of one of the most important things he needs, which is a belief that he has core convictions and values and is not political. I mean, he's built this thing on being, I'm a different kind of a politician, and he's proven himself to be a very able, typical Chicago politician.
Well, Karl, as you know, if he and the other Democrats had gotten their way, and pulled out all our combat troops by March 08, we would have lost the war, and Al-Qaeda would have had a huge victory at our expense. But if you were advising him, because there are two equities here. One, we don't elect liberal Democrats. You know, we elect to president people who are Southern governors and centrists. He's not from the South. He's not a governor, but he can move to the center. But as you point out, it's at the expense of being this grand transformational figure he sold himself as in the primaries. What would you advise him to do?
Well, look, I would have advised him to be true to himself at the beginning of this campaign and not to try and position himself one way in the primary for political reasons and then position himself in a different place for the general election. But let's assume for a minute that he really, inside Barack Obama, there is a centrist waiting to, spring out. I'd say be where you are. Say what you want to do. Because you're right. You cannot be on the far left fringe of American politics and win. And you'll notice in the last several weeks on a wide variety of issues, he's attempted to move himself deliberately to the center.
Nearly everything, it seems.
And this week I thought it was really interesting because it shows the difficulty in this. He said, I will continue President Bush's faith-based initiative, which a lot of Democrats don't like. Now, of course, he then went on to say, I will reform the office and I will insist that religious charities no longer be able to set their own standards as to who they hire. Since 1964, religious organizations have had, under the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the ability to hire whomever they want. He wants to take away that ability for religious organizations to make decisions like that.
All right, Karl, don't go anywhere. Coming up, we'll have more with Karl Rove on the other side of the break, plus John